Hey, this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva,
Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
and you're listening and or watching the snobOS show, the show where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back to a new week of the snobOS show. We want to thank our Patreons for tuning in to our snobbish show, which is our live pre-show. If you want to get in on the extra content, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/snobOS. For as little as $5 a month, you'll get access to our pre-show content, our live recording of the show, as well as to access to our community forum. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the show. We will start with the lowdown where we talk all things Apple. All right, so the first thing up on the docket, as we all are aware of the COVID vaccine rollout, it started off really slow with the previous administration. It's starting to pick up with the new administration, with them trying to figure out how to get everybody vaccinated. In the meantime, there are people who are actually getting vaccinated, and everyone wants to, of course, have a systematic way to keep up with their vaccinations. So there are different apps that are allowing the your vaccination record to be via app. They're sending that information via app. You can, in some instances, the apps are allowing you to add it to your Apple Wallet. But with the influx of apps that are taking this route, Apple has decided that it is going to require apps that are providing this vaccination proof to be submitted by health authorities only. And this is to cut down and eliminate as much as possible fake documentation, because people will do it, especially when it comes to travel and those types of things, or having to go certain places, or jobs, or being out. People will falsify a document, so they will throw up an app to get it on there. But what Apple has decided to do is to only allow this information from health organizations. And apparently the statement that Apple released, that they shared with folks who are developing these apps, and I quote, "With the recent release of COVID-19 vaccines, we've seen an increase in apps that generate health passes used to enter buildings and access in-person services based on testing and vaccination records. To ensure these apps responsibly handle sensitive data and provide reliable functionality, they must be submitted by developers working with entities recognized by public health authorities, such as test kit manufacturers, laboratories, or health providers. As with other apps related to COVID-19, we also accept apps submitted directly by government, medical, and other credentialed institutions." So this is Apple's way of saying, you're not going to, have us on the hook for, distributing false information. We are only going to receive this information from certain health institutions that have been validated and or verified.
Right. I mean, it only makes sense.
Yeah.
People are going to figure out a way to game any system. I can't think of any system on the face of this earth somebody has not figured out how to get around or usurp or take the information or falsify information. It happens everywhere. It happens everywhere.
Yep.
So you can imagine Apple probably, some sort of flag was raised that says, hey, we've got a lot of apps
being submitted
that have just hit the App Store that are proving or claiming to be able to provide credentialed vaccination, COVID-19 specific vaccination information. And hey, let's, before we get even further, let's go ahead and do this the right way, because it'd be much harder, or it would look twice as bad if we have to go back and do this after thousands, hundreds of thousands, thousands of people who have, however, gotten this little thing on their phone that says, "Hey, I've been vaccinated," and that leads to a whole another heap of trouble anyway. So I was like, "Look, let's squash this right now and say only apps can provide information from credentialed health authorities or the government." So I mean,
It makes sense. Yeah, and since there's no national, I don't believe, way of documenting, if you've had your vaccination. I've seen people, get vaccinated at various parts of the country, and they hold up their card that's been signed off. It looks like it could be easily photocopied or,
Right.
get on Word and type something up real quick and print it on some color paper and sign it. How are you going to validate that signature is a licensed medical professional? Because I don't know if they're putting their medical license ID on there. I would doubt it, because someone can take that and put it on all other documents. So I think it's only smart, especially since the government hasn't been able to get a handle on all of this. And I think we mentioned before, I think that the current administration thought there would have been something, that they could have picked up and kept going with, but it seems like it was nothing. So they had to completely start from scratch. And that's from getting enough supply of the vaccine first, rolling it out to make sure that it gets to the people who need it, not just rich people, because that was a thing. And third, making sure that it's documented correctly and having a systematic way to ensure, similar to your Social Security card or similar to your driver's license, a standardized document. Even though every state has a different driver's license, there are regulatory things.
But there's only one driver's license place per state. Now you take that and compare that to COVID and COVID vaccination. You get that anywhere. You can get it anywhere. And when I say anywhere, I mean there's no per state, per city, organized, standardized way to take your COVID vaccination. We've seen stories to where, I've read at least 2 stories to where, the vaccination was about to expire, and, instead of wasting that batch, I've seen doctors go door to door, go car to car, just to make sure that they don't waste it. But if you're going door to door, car to car, that sounds less formalized, less standardized, less official than actually going into a medical, the CDC that we have here in Atlanta, or some big place where you would think they would go. They're putting these, the NFL's over. So, the NFL and the commissioner, they've said, well, you can use our stadiums as vaccination and COVID-19 testing places. So it's a lot everywhere. Everybody's trying to help out, but that means it's, spread out everywhere. So the fact that they can, at the very least, somebody like Apple come in and say, hey, we're big. We're going to, put our foot down and say, here's how we are going to standardize COVID vaccinations. And then maybe other places will do the same. Google Play will do it, and then maybe more people will start to coordinate, more, pharmacies, more of these different smaller organizations will start to partner with these, the public health authorities, test kit manufacturers, laboratories, and healthcare providers to make sure, hey, we've got these batch of people who are vaccinated. Let's make sure we can coordinate information with you all, so when these people then can go, they can feel better about going out and say, hey, I've been vaccinated. Here's my little app, or here's my little Apple Wallet thing. And then 2, I think if they do this correctly, it'll lead to doing this in other places, like your driver's license. I don't have to carry my driver's license around. I can put it in my Apple Wallet. I don't have to carry, if I'm a concealed weapon carrier, I don't have to carry that around. I can put it in my Apple Wallet. I don't have to carry around my dental insurance or my medical insurance or my social security number or my birth certificate. If they've got a way you can standardize and to make it electronic, because if Apple can do it, sure, the state of Atlanta, could standardize putting a driver's license on my app or on my phone. So hopefully this is a beginning of, bringing that digital wallet thing that I want so bad.
Yeah, I was about to say that's one of your things that you have on your prediction list.
Yep. So all that to say, It's only right that they do it this way.
Yep. And I'm going to go ahead and say I don't know what happened. I wasn't looking, and the framing of our images has gone awry. So for anybody who is watching this video, if you see the images moving around, getting bigger, getting smaller, that's just me trying to fix whatever happened. I don't know what it's showing on your side of the world.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's a delay, but it looks good to me.
Yeah, it must be a delay because I can still I don't know. It's something weird going on and I don't know what it is because I see like my desktop in the background and I don't know how that is.
I think it looks good.
Okay.
I'm looking at the thing on YouTube and it still looks fine. Again, I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay, yeah. Keep an eye to see if it shifts, and you might see a little bit because I'm looking at the recording and I see like a part of my desktop behind it, and I don't know how that's even possible.
There.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
Okay, so maybe it's just the view that I'm seeing that looks weird. But anyway, let's keep it moving.
Right.
So Epic is back.
Oh, they are. Huh?
They are back. So after they filed their antitrust complaint in the US, where they did their whole little video and whatnot, they left the US and then they went and filed a complaint in Australia. And now they've made their way over to Europe. So they have filed their antitrust lawsuit in Europe. So they aren't giving up. They have their little icon is in the traditional Apple tricolors. Yeah. Free Fortnite, so similar to what they did here in the U.S. and I'm sure in Australia as well, as complaining that the big bad Apple is ruining their business and hurting not only them, a big company, but they're hurting the little guy too. So they have now brought the complaint to the EU. And so I guess I'll read the little blurb that they have on here. Epic made the announcement today, and quote, Epic Games today announced it has filed an antitrust complaint against Apple in the European Union, expanding the company's fight to advance fair digital platform practices for developers and consumers. The complaint filed with the European Commission's Directorate General for Competition alleges that through a series of carefully designed anti-competitive restrictions, Apple has not just harmed but completely eliminated competition in app distribution and payment processing. Apple uses its control of the iOS ecosystem, which Apple owns, by the way, that's the editorial there, to benefit itself while blocking competitors, and its conduct is an abuse of a dominant position in the breach of EU competition law. So, as of now, the EU has not commented on the complaint, but it's out there, and they're not giving up. They're gonna fight to the death, which I think at this point they kind of have to, because they've made such a big deal about it and, done the whole public
outcry.
Battle of the words. They have this big PR campaign, so they kind of have to keep going as to not look like suckers. So
right. Well, I'm surprised it took them this long to get to the EU, because the European Union, in previous rulings against Microsoft, against Google, I think maybe even against Apple, the European Union has favored or not been in the favor of these major manufacturers, these big companies, when it comes to antitrust in the past. And, I'm thinking specifically, Microsoft and Internet Explorer. It was coming prepackaged. European Union ruled against them. They ruled against some Google and some of the things, like I mentioned before. The European Union is why we have all of these, the GDPR, and when you sign up for a newsletter, the people who are collecting your information have to tell you specifically what they're going to do with it. And if you decide at any time you want to have your data completely removed or wiped, these companies, these brands have to do so, right? So all of that came out of the European Union.
They have
So
the strictest rules and regulations out of anybody.
Exactly. So I'm surprised Epic didn't go to them shortly after they got pushed back from, United States or whatever, because uh, they may have better favor with the European Union, but we don't know yet because that the EU hasn't commented. But of course, Apple has commented, and they said, I'll keep it short. Epic enabled a feature in its app which was not reviewed or approved by Apple, and they did so with the express intent of violating App Store guidelines that apply equally to every developer and protect customers. This is Apple's quote: "Their reckless behavior made pawns of customers, and we look forward to making this clear to the European Commission," Apple spokesperson said. So basically, Apple is hitting back just as hard,
guns blazing,
almost, right, and using the same or using a similar response as they're doing with Facebook, because Facebook is generally kind of doing the same thing. There's like, with Apple's new privacy laws, it's going to be bad for the small businesses, and these small businesses rely on Facebook ads to generate income. Mm-hmm. Apple is sticking it to the little guy, and Apple's like, no. What we're doing is we're actually protecting our users against your spying behinds. Of course, I'm making light of that, but basically what you're not going to do is use the customers as pawns. So Apple's taking that same response, doing it and applying it to Epic by saying, okay, well, Epic is just trying to start this whole how we do our thing with the thing that we own, that our customers use willingly. So what you're not about to do is change all that. So
right.
And you're not about to use our customers as pawns as your reasoning for doing it, because that's not the reason why you're doing it.
Right.
You were just trying to keep more money for yourselves, and you don't want to give us our cut. So you want to try to use all around the world. Mm-hmm. It's about how it's hurting customers, when all actuality,
it's about
you don't want to play the game.
Yeah.
Right.
And the fact that I don't know if I had seen this before about them including this feature that wasn't reviewed or approved by Apple before they did it. So that shows, some malicious intent there to do something that they know is wrong. But now when they peeped out your little game, they're like, nah, this isn't gonna fly. Then you get mad.
Yep. Apple called it bluff. It's like, do what you got to do, and they were like, all right.
What happened was, yeah. And an article I didn't include this week that I did see, kind of along the same lines with you were talking about the tracking. There are some marketers and advertisers saying that they're going to pull some of their marketing budget from Apple and shift it over to Android because of the privacy features. And it's, the same thing. It hurts the little guy. But I'm like, as a marketing firm, you're willing to shift your marketing budget over to a company that's less secure because, in their words, Android users are less likely to care about being tracked. I'm like, in what world does that make sense? And if you do, that's fine.
If it's true, that's messed up how you feel about your
customers. And you're willing to market to them. They don't care about being tracked. Let's go over there.
Right. That's crazy.
They're stupid, and I'm just like, as I was reading it, I was like, are you serious? Are these huge marketing firms really about to do this? I don't think they are. I think it was just a test of waters to kind of see what people would say. But if they do that, that's says a lot about those people. And I don't know if I would want my money to go to them anyway, if they think that less of me. But
right.
I digress. All right. The last thing that we have this week in the lowdown is related to Apple Pay. Apple Pay now has started to support Bitcoin payments for the very first time. I remember when the whole idea of Bitcoin came out, people were really skeptical. People was like, well, it's not real money, but is it real money? You have to have it in a certain wallet. It's digital. It's not physical, but I can spend it. It was a lot of concern around Bitcoin. But as we've seen, a lot of people have invested and are using Bitcoin. So Apple has finally, I guess, relinquished, the hold on that. And they are going to allow Apple Pay users to make their payments in Bitcoin and other crypto currency. I thought that was a pretty big shift for Apple.
Well, it's the money.
Yeah.
More and more people are using Bitcoin. Like you mentioned, I'm not invested in it at all because I can't wrap my head around it either.
Yeah, the concept is,
I conceptually I can see it, but practically, I still can't wrap my head around it because there's all these different types of cryptocurrency. There's so many. There's like hundreds of them. So
all these different wallets, all these different processes. I'm like, I need to know where my money actually is.
And not just that, it's like if I am a company like Apple willing to either accept or use the type of payment as a method of payment, how do we make it work one way for all these hundreds of different ways, these types of payment?
Right.
How does it work one way? I guess they figured it out with this BitPay. But like they say, the answer to what you were saying is this money. I was reading a story and it says to put some numbers around this, Square, which is the company that does Cash App and, does a lot of point of sale stuff for, newer brick and mortar places and electronics, virtual storefronts. Square generates 1.6 billion a quarter in Bitcoin related revenue on active install base that we estimate to be about the more or less $30 million range. Apple's install base is 1.5 billion, and even if we assume only 200 users would transact, that is 6.66 times larger than Square. So basically they say, oh, wait a minute now.
It's money to be had.
There's a lot of money, so we about to figure this out.
Yeah.
So all that to say now, fast forward to now, Apple Pay does uses this BitPay wallet app to then you can do transactions through Apple Pay. So
yeah, that's where the money resides. So that's where Apple is going. All right, that is it for the lowdown. Now let's head over to Second String, where we talk all other tech. I saw this on the interwebs, and it was very intriguing. And when I read the headline, I was like, this can't be real. This has to be some sort of play on words or some sort of,
Well, they're leaving a lot out in the middle.
Right. And I was like, is this really what it is? And Instagram, it's an article that I saw on Instagram. But where is it?
I think you put the link to the actual Instagram post.
Yep.
But you may have to find the link for the actual story. But it sounds like, just the headline itself. And before you look it up, I'm just going to guess and speculate.
Okay.
That I'm pretty sure there's some sort of signals, there's some sort of readers or metrics that they've implanted in the soil, maybe, to where when the spinach grows a certain way or reacts to this certain temperature or reacts to this certain environmental change, those sensors, those readers can fire off a process which then emails like the scientist or whoever is looking over that, hey, something has changed and this is how they're reacting as a result.
Okay.
So
the title, the image that I saw on Instagram, it looks like some leaves of some sort, and it says, scientists have taught spinach how to send emails. The technology could help warn us about climate change and environmental pollution. So the smarty engineers over at MIT have found a way to allow the spinach plants to send emails. It's called plant nanobiotics. And what it's currently doing is used to detect underground explosives like landmines. But the scientists think that they can use this to also detect and warn us of climate change and environmental, different types of environmental pollutions. So what happens is they have these carbon nanotube technology sensors that are on the spinach that wirelessly notifies the scientist. So they're thinking that this plant nanobiotics, they can attach these sensors to the plants.
The leaves.
Yeah, and it can read what's in the soil. And based on what's in the soil, they can then send that data. So not just necessarily, their roots and what's going on with the plant itself, but also the surrounding, dirt and vegetation and life around it. So anything from, it can tell if a drought is coming or if there is some sort of pollutant in the soil. So I saw this and I just thought, I was like, this can't be what I think it is. But it's pretty fascinating that they can even, have these sensors on live vegetation and it can read, what's going on in not only with the plant itself, but what's going on in the surrounding vegetation as well. So I thought that was something a little bit different on the tech side of things. That just was very interesting. And I was like, that says a lot about where we are and where we can go with this.
Right. Well, you hear about nanotechnology a lot in movies. They've used nanotechnology to make people stronger in movies and, to put nanotechnology on insects so they can do, surveillance and, all the stories that you've heard about nano, you think of nano
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man uses nanotechnology, right? So all of this, tiny. So it makes sense that they can, you got computer chips that are small as your fingertips. So it makes sense for them to be able to use nanotechnology to apply it to something like this, as small as leaves on spinach that can fire off all kinds of things. It's like IoT, basically. Internet of Things. Yeah. Right. So if you can make it small enough, why not put it on some grass?
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. So, all right. So let's go on to the next thing. We talked last week about the upgrades that maps from that comes natively on the Apple devices, how they're now kind of shifting along to how Waze does things, where you can do like real-time reporting, those type of things. Well, it's come from Google Maps that you will now be able to pay for parking and other transportation related items through the new features that they have coming up. Again, like I said, you can pay parking, you can buy a train ticket right from inside of the Google Maps. So here in Atlanta, back when we could go outside, there's a lot of street parking and most of it is Park Mobile around Atlanta, and Park Mobile has its own app, which isn't great, especially when you have to enter in like your license plate, and then some places you have to go to the machine, some places you can use the app. It's not very standard. It just depends on what type of technology they have at that particular place that uses Park Mobile. But it looks like Google Maps is going to integrate Passport, I haven't heard of Passport, and Park Mobile, both into the Google Maps, and it's going to allow you the ability to find, pay for, and replenish parking meters or parking lot fees through the app. It says that the feature will be available in Google Maps. You just simply tap on the quote "pay for parking" button that appears near you. That appears as you near your destination. You enter your meter number, the amount of time you want to pay to park, and then tap pay. And if you need more meter time, you can easily go in and extend the parking session with just a few taps. Just another way that they are making things simpler, less interaction with other hardware that hundreds and hundreds of people have probably touched and used, especially in the age of COVID. They are giving you that convenience all, from your smartphone. And it looks like this is going to be available in over 400 cities in the U.S., including Boston, Cincinnati, Houston, L.A., New York, D.C., and more. And Android users will get this feature first, which makes sense. And then iPhone owners will soon follow.
Well, I was trying to click through my phone because I thought this is a good feature to have because I use Park Mobile all the time as well. And, once it works, if it works right, it works wonderful. When you can get it to work right.
You can get it to work right.
But I was actually trying to go through and see if I could do that now with Apple Maps. And the reason why I say that is because Apple released its Apple Clips. And what you can do is if you're in an area like a restaurant, I've only got it to work with a restaurant. If you're at a restaurant nearby and you open up Apple Maps, you should get another option to visit store or visit shop or order food. And even if you don't have the app on your phone, it'll pull up like this mini version of the app which will enable you to do basic things like order from a small menu, order drinks, order whatever. So I was trying to figure out if
you had a workaround for that.
Well, not necessarily workaround. If parking
was one of the things that popped up.
Anything that popped up, and I couldn't find anything specifically. The only one I saw was there's one parking garage down on Peachtree Road in Atlanta that accepts Apple Pay, but it didn't pop up that pay for parking. That's what I was thinking. I was hoping that if I search for it and find one, it would say pay for parking here, and then it would open up an app clip to where I could then go through and give my license plate number, give them the car color, the car type,
without having to fully download the app.
Without having to fully download the app. So I didn't see any in my particular area. So maybe they haven't caught on yet. Which that makes sense. Ain't nobody going nowhere. Anyway. Well, people are, but maybe not
the mass majority
to justify rushing to set up your app clip for your parking, garage or whatever. So, but all that to say, even though this is a dope feature, I can definitely see Apple integrating this soon, if not already, through app clips to where all parking garages or parking companies had to do is load up their location in the app clip and then boom, there you go. But yeah, this is definitely a feature that once outside opens back up, I will have to switch over to Google Maps to use if I can quickly, pay for parking without looking goofy walking in circles around the car trying to find the
little if it doesn't have if it doesn't automatically find it based on location, you need to get the number of the stall,
what zone is
it's the worst. But this also works for public transportation much of the same way. If you're looking for transit directions or transit location, you'll see an option to purchase tickets that appear alongside your results. So if you're looking for a specific, metro stop or something along those lines, you will be able to pay for your metro or subway or railway ticket the same way, which is good because using the times that I've had to get on MARTA, and using their Breeze card process, it's really the worst.
And that's the benefit of being in the Apple ecosystem, because when they do it, they control the front and the back, right? With Google, it's a little bit more because Google makes Android, but they only make a couple of phones. Versus you've got Samsung, you've got all these other all these other phone manufacturers that can make a phone that's compatible with Android. But with Google trying to roll something out like this through Google Maps, it's not just easy as just implementing it. You got
Right.
to make sure it works with Samsung, with Huawei, with OnePlus, with HTC, with Huawei. I said Huawei already.
Yeah.
With with all these
All the other
other
manufacturers.
versus Apple can just be like, boom, we're rolling it out in iOS. We know it's going to work on all the iPhones. It may even work on iPads, depending on how mobile you are. Boom, go about your business. So, there is a way, even in Apple Pay, right, Apple Wallet right now, to where I can designate one of my credit cards as the main way I pay for
Mm-hmm.
transit. So when I go through MARTA, for example, if the station's got it set up, which I highly doubt
Yeah.
it, you can actually, just wave your phone, get a Breeze card, and then boom, you don't have to click through and figure out which credit card you're going to use, yada, yada, yada. But again, like I said, once everything opens back up, again, this goes back to my original point. I want everything on my phone.
Yeah.
Let me set it up ahead of time, but then when I'm out and about, I should just be able to hand you my phone to do
To do
anything,
any and everything.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely should, but I thought that's a slick new feature. And I think, if anything, they should maybe start with their own devices. Maybe they can roll it out with Pixel. So that way they can say, we rolled out with ours, and that's the Android device.
They know
And now
everybody
we're
and
going to give
mama,
it to everybody else. And so then
but
iPhone can kind of roll in with all the other Android devices.
right, but
Yeah,
the
I
Android
know.
Google knows
Yeah.
everybody that uses Android has a Samsung. They have a Galaxy device.
For the
So,
most part, yeah.
you would think that they would have that close of a partnership with Samsung, but they're still trying to push those Pixels out, which, I mean, if I was an Android user, I would have a Pixel, specifically because if I'm going to be
In the
in the
ecosystem, I
ecosystem,
want to be
I
in the
want to
ecosystem.
be all the way in it,
Yeah.
right?
But they
So
love
I don't
those
want
Samsung devices, so they're pretty attached to those. They're more attached to the device and the ecosystem. And I think that's
right.
where
And
it falters a lot when it comes to issues with the device and how people, like, I have a cousin who he's an Android Samsung stan, and every time Apple comes out with something new, he'll send me an
he's got something
IG
to
or
say.
send me a text.
Right.
We already had this 5 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't really great.
Right, right.
So, I
Yeah.
think there are people who are, a lot of people say, oh, you're so tied to iPhone. I'm like, no, it's not one specific device. It's the ecosystem, because
Right.
I have the laptop, I have the AirPods, I have, the keyboards, the mouse, the phone, the pen, all of the things, and all of it works so seamlessly together. Like, what I'm doing on one device, it is essentially the same thing I'm doing on all of them.
Right.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
But Samsung did their job,
Yeah.
and
They
they
cornered the
they
market.
can't. Right, exactly. And now, so Google has to deal with that.
Yeah.
So we'll, again, all that to say, to see, since a lot of people, even iPhone users, use Google Maps, then I guess, they can roll it out to a larger swath of people, and see how it works,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of iPhone users who use Google Maps. Probably most
Yeah.
iPhone users use
Google
Google
Maps.
Maps. So,
I know
I
I
don't
do.
think they really have to they don't really have to test it all that much, because they know people are going to use it
Yeah.
extensively.
Yeah. And that doing it on iOS is probably honestly going to be one of the more simpler things for them. So, all right. All right. The last thing that we have in second string, Terrance and I have harped on having complex passwords, password managers. We both use LastPass and, have sang its praises. So we both have premium accounts, so we pay for them. But for those of you who use LastPass but use the free version, a change is a coming, and you need to prepare for it. So now, coming as of March 16th, 2020, LastPass is going to start restricting the free access, meaning you can only have LastPass on one device. You're going to have to choose whether you want LastPass on your tablet, on your phone,
Right.
or on your laptop. Can't have all of them anymore. You can only pick one.
Yep.
And that's starting March 16th of this year. So essentially, you'll have, I think, 3 different times to switch your active type. So I guess they're giving you the option to try it on your phone, to try it on your tablet, to try it on your laptop, to see which one you prefer. But on that third chance, whatever you're using, it's going to lock it in on that device if you use the free version. And if you want to use it on multiple devices, of course, you'll have to upgrade to the premium version.
And I mean, who didn't see this coming?
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of free things that we use on a regular basis that these companies are going to start charging us for. LastPass being one of them. As important a tool or function it is, sooner or later you are going to have to pay for it. So I don't even see a major issue. The only issue that I see is they should have did this earlier, so people, their user base wasn't as huge, so they could probably get this over faster with less headache than waiting until they've got this large section of users and then try to roll this out. I'll be Negrodamus here and say soon Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok are eventually, and WhatsApp and Signal and Telegram and all of these apps.
They're going to have a paid version. They're going to probably keep their free tier, and then they're going to have the paid tier.
Because what you're finding out is they started one way, and the way we use not necessarily technology, the way we use it has evolved so fast that when Twitter first started, I'm pretty sure they never imagined we use it the way we're using it right now. But that comes with challenges. You're talking about, especially with the stuff that's happening with free speech versus, politics, and how politicians and, how the political game is ran through social media. They probably never expected that to happen. So, I'll get off my tangent here and just say that, technology is evolving so fast and we're using it for everything now to where I'm getting to the point to where I wouldn't trust a app or a service that's free, because my thing is, all right, if it's free, what am I losing? What am I giving up? What am I sacrificing by using this free app, especially something as important as a password manager?
Yeah.
It's like, if it's just super free, I'm either waiting for the other shoe to drop or I'm giving up something.
Yeah.
I'm giving up data. I'm giving up something. I'm losing less security, less something. I would much rather pay to use LastPass if that.
And was it like $40 or something like that?
It's not even that expensive.
I don't even know how much it costs, but it's not expensive
at all. It's like $14 a year, something like that. But like I said, I would much rather that money go to you beefing up your security, research and development, whatever you say you need it for. I'd much rather pay for something as sensitive and as important as this versus being upset that, this thing that I've used for years and years and years is now free and I don't want to use it no more. Eventually we'll get there, with some of the other popular services as well.
Yep. All right. That is it for Second String. Let's head on over to For the Culture. And as we are in Black History Month, we are going to kick off our For the Culture segment with Teching While Black. And in honor of Black History Month, this week we are going to highlight Tope Awatana. I hope Awatana.
Yeah, I think that's
Tope
how you pronounce it.
Awatana. And he is the founder and CEO of Calendly. I believe we talked about him a few weeks ago regarding the big news that his company, which is a cloud-based calendar scheduling system, got a new company valuation of more than $3 billion. This is a founder who is based in Atlanta and basically bootstrapped the company by raising seed funding in 2014 from Atlanta Ventures. So essentially, he started this. He took his 401k and invested his 401k in the company. And then I think I'll link the article into the show notes, but he was trying to get people to invest in his company. And as we've mentioned before, there are so many Black founders who cannot get startup money. And one of the things that he mentioned in the article was that he had a working product. It was in production, and he had a customer base who was actually using it, and he still was getting rejected for startup money. He couldn't get it. And he said the only thing he could think of is because he was Black, that he couldn't get that startup money, because as we know, there are people who can go in with a sticky note and say, here is my idea, and get, money just thrown at them. But I think it probably ultimately worked out better for him, since he now owns the majority stake in his company. So, the initial, hardship, the initial, I'm sure frustration with trying to raise money for an application that was popular and working, and had a customer base, and was one of the fastest rising usage of software, that he still couldn't get money invested in the company. I think it ultimately worked out best for him in that instance, because he was able to get that $3 billion valuation. And his company is only the 4th U.S. company with a Black founder at the head to be valued over $1 billion. So he is our Teching While Black spotlight of this week.
Yep. And just a note, do some research. If you are interested in investing in a company or anything, you can use your 401k. There are ways that you can use your 401. A lot of people think of their 401k, whether it be corporate owned for the job that they work for, or it's, invested through like a broker like TD Ameritrade, to where you can only invest in the stock market. That's not the case. There are companies, there are processes out there that will let you use your current 401k. Of course, you can't take the profits and use it early. You still got to wait till you retire to use that. But if you're not sure about the stock market, or you think you could be making more money on your 401k than the stock market and investing, you can invest it in anything like startup companies. So if you feel like you could be doing more to help the Black startup community, Black tech community, but you don't feel like you have the money because, of course, you got to save and you got to this. Well, you've got this money set aside in a 401k that you're not using, and it may be making some money, but if you can figure out a better way to either make more money or invest it in something that you believe in, you definitely can do that. So that's all. That's kind of like the thing I wanted to mention, because you mentioned that he used his 401k to start the company. So that just, light off went in my head, to where, we as in, African Americans, and also Black techies, and then Black techies who are looking to start up and, don't have that story of, well, my family didn't give me $100,000 or $200,000, because they literally did not have the money. Well, there's some of us out there who do have the money. It's just tied up, and we don't know how to use that money to donate to causes like this. You can do it. So do some research on, self-directed IRAs. Do your research, to where if there's a company or a family member or a cause you believe in, there'd be some ways you might be able to help out.
And I know earlier in COVID, I don't know if the exceptions have been removed, but when COVID was, at peak, they were allowing you to, some companies were allowing you to take your 401k without penalty. So look and see what's available with your current setup, and see what you can possibly do, because there, like Terrance mentioned, there are options that you can participate in.
Yep.
All right. Let's head on over to the Real for the Culture. This is actually, some positive news this week. It's a little. We'll catch up with Triple G, as Terrance called it, Gorilla Glue Girl. We talked about Tessica Brown. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, and that is the woman from Louisiana who used Gorilla Glue to lay her edges and slick down her ponytail, and had her hair become essentially a hard hat for a month. And we talked about all the trial that she went through. She couldn't wash it out. And again, they said that the water acts like a sealant for Gorilla Glue. So every time she washed it, it made it worse. Then she went to the emergency room. They said they could do it, but it would take 20 hours. She didn't want to wait at the hospital 20 hours. She asked if she could do it at home. They gave her the stuff. She went home, had her sister try and do it. That didn't work. So she actually finally got some help from a Hollywood plastic surgeon, Dr. Michael Obang. Hope I pronounced that correctly. And he was able to remove the glue from her hair pro bono. And she didn't lose all her hair.
Right. So that was the thing. My speculation was they were going to have to shave her bald. And even a step further, they may have to remove some of her skin and move skin grafts to grow all that back. So, like Nica's alluding to, he was able to do it for free and without losing any of her current hair. Now, I think she got her pony. I think she had a
ponytail. Her sister was able to cut the ponytail off finally, because that wasn't all the way on the scalp, but it was kind of the back. But it was still hard to get it off. She was like sawing that thing off like a piece of wood. But they were finally able to get the ponytail portion of it, but the hair that she had remaining was still slicked
on
down
the top of her head.
Yeah, it was like a hard hat. It wasn't going anywhere. So she was able to go, and he was able to get the glue out. He used a combination of acetone, I believe, adhesive remover, I want to say tea tree oil and olive oil, and like saline. Don't quote me 100% on those, because I'm kind of going off memory of something that I think I read that he said. But he was able to get it off, and she was able to keep the remaining hair, on her head. Of course, I'm sure some of it came out, but for the most part, she was able to keep it. Me personally, I probably still would have gotten it shaved off and gotten my scalp looked at, just to be safe. It's just hair. Hair grows. It will go back.
So obviously it's not, because when I saw the video of her after she came out from anesthesia, and she's still has stuff connected to her, but she's rubbing her hands through her, and people on podcasts who are listening, you just have to imagine me running my hair through my non-existent hair anyway. She was saying that I wish I would have came to you
before she cut her ponytail.
Before I got my ponytail cut off. And I was like,
girl,
this dude has just performed a literal miracle on the top of your head.
A $12,000 surgery for free.
And the only thing,
first thing out of your mouth
was, I wish I would have came to you before I had my ponytail cut off. So all that to say, with her specifically, but I think in general, I think hair less than before, I still think that is serious business when you're talking about women in general. Yeah. For good or for bad, I know, what hair represents. I know, I'm familiar with what it stands for. I'm familiar, with all the things.
It's our crown and glory.
Right. But again, I agree with you. If it was me, I'd be like, I don't trust
none of this
stuff did not damage my brain. So let's just start over. Let's just shave it off.
Let me go to get me what do you call it?
Or somebody.
What do you call when you go on the tube? The MRI or something?
Yeah.
I need all the tests. I need to see what's going on underneath the scalp. And I would want my scalp checked to make sure there aren't any lesions or any type of poison or toxins. Yeah, I know. I need a full workup and a full check out. But based on, that comment that you mention that she made. And then she posted some pictures because she got it done in LA. She posted pictures with the Mercedes Benz. And
I didn't see those.
yeah, yeah. And then someone was like, anybody can rent a Benz in LA for like
Oh, so that
$150.
was she did. It was a rental,
Oh no,
and she.
that's what someone
Oh,
else on Twitter commented, saying
oh,
it's not just saying that she went out and bought a brand new Benz,
oh, okay.
but based on, post surgery, she has a full blown management team now. That's a
Okay.
manager, agent. She has a full team. She's selling merch, t-shirts, sweatshirts, sweatpants, and she basically said on her social media that she's made like a small fortune. And fortunately for her, I do have to give her props on this. The money that she raised in the GoFundMe, I think it was like 23,000 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Mm-hmm.
donating 20,000 of that to a nonprofit called Restoration Foundation, which is actually founded by the doctor who performed the surgery for pro bono.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, you have to, give credit where credit is due, because she could have kept that money. She didn't have
Mm-hmm.
to give it back. But I think she, had some sort of foresight to see how it could be viewed. Because people are already saying, "See what she did with y'all GoFundMe money." When she posted a picture of the Benz, she buying Benz with y'all money, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, you can't buy no
Mm-hmm.
real Mercedes Benz for
Mm-hmm.
$20,000. But I digress. But she is keeping some of the money because she did incur some costs from when she had to go to the emergency room, which makes
That's fair.
sense, and
That's
that's
fair.
fair. And the doctor himself, who's getting a lot of publicity, which is good. I hope that definitely helps his business. He is now planning to market and sell the solution that he used to get the glue out of her hair.
Which can't knock the hustle.
Nope.
On For the life of me, I can't figure out why such a thing exists, but obviously it does. So somebody might as well capitalize off of it and figure out how to sell it, because there are people out there
Well, they're already doing the
who
Gorilla Glue
need this.
challenge.
Right, right. The guy who,
Did his lip.
yeah, his lip to the solo cup, and he's in the emergency room. So obviously
And another
there
girl,
is a market.
another person, I'm not sure if the person is a girl or a boy, so I don't want to misgender them, but another person put the glue in their hair. I want to say white. They appear white. I don't want to give anyone the wrong race, but the person appeared to be white, and they put the glue in their hair as well. And then
What?
was like, it won't actually come out. I can't believe it. I guess I'm going to have to start a GoFundMe or something. But
Oh, well,
you're not getting the same sympathy that she got, friend. Sorry.
right. Well, now there's a new product out there that you can be a beta tester for, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
It did. Apparently, it did work because it got it out of her hair. I'm not sure, if he'll have to. Of course, he will have to adjust the proportions and the sizing and all those things. But yeah, I mean, he did do it for free. I don't think he did it to, have ulterior motives. Maybe did, maybe didn't.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
think so. It's hard to tell.
I don't put nothing past nobody, right? Because this Dr. Obeng, of course, the ladies, commented on his, attractiveness, and they were able to find some nice headshot type images that they've used for him.
Oh,
So me, looking too much into it as a as a as a negative, who knows? Maybe he saw her and was like, "Cha-ching."
yeah.
I will do the surgery or the procedure pro bono, in the back of his mind, thinking, all right, if this works, then I can, get my hustle game
I can
together
be where the
and
money
can.
resides.
Right, right. I mean, can't knock your hustle,
No.
right? Even with Teska Brown, Triple G, right? She's now, according to your notes here, and I did some research. She shared a video from her official website selling merch.
Mm-hmm.
The merch includes various t-shirts, hoodies,
Sweatpants. Yep.
sweatpants, priced from $28 to $50, different colors. And the phrase that she has on the merchandise says, bonded for life. So, I mean,
Yeah,
as
that's
much
how she was
as,
able to give away the money for the GoFundMe, because she said she, was making a small fortune. So her 15 minutes, she's gonna try and drag that 15 out.
and figure out a new, income stream. They always say have multiple streams of revenue. So as much as I would judge and wag my finger at somebody putting themselves through bodily harm for the sake of you know better life.
Mm-hmm.
um I mean, what can you say? I mean, she could very well go away, go back to her regular life,
Mm-hmm.
or
Well, she had a
uh
daycare, I think, and I don't
right.
know. If I don't have children, I've never had children, but I personally probably would be a bit skeptical to let
Absolutely.
someone watch my child who
I
thought
have
that Gorilla
removed my
Glue.
kids. I have removed my kids from daycares for less. So I, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, her business took a hit. So she had to figure out another way to make money, income after this. You got to think in the future. People are willing to give you money. You recognize how easy it is to start a business. It's not easy, but it's the process is smaller from when our parents
Yeah.
were you could make money in a weekend, putting up a website,
Yeah.
selling stuff that people want. So I mean, do your thing.
Yeah.
Hope you can sleep well at night, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah. But, some people's moral compass is a lot lower than others. So, you know, sometimes they don't have problem with doing certain types of things. But, I hope it works out and she's able to make enough money, and maybe possibly find another career, because teaching is probably going to be pretty hard
Yes.
going forward. All right, that is it in For the Culture. Let's head on over to the hookup. What do you have for us this week, Brother Tech?
All right. So I am the IT guy of the family and of extended friends. So I frequently send people screenshots, and I also do video capture when I want to walk somebody through how to do something on their iPhone. Uh, Normally, what I have to do is when I send the video capture of the process, in the message or in the caption, I'll say, open this, tap that, do this, do that, do this, do that. So I'll kind of visually walk them through the steps via the text that I type, and then visually I will, do the screen capture of me actually doing the steps so they can see it visually and follow the steps on video. Well, the cool thing that I found out is you can also add voiceover to your screen recordings. And the way you do that is you would activate the screen recording like you would normally do. So, you drag down from the top right of your phone to reveal the control center. And then in the control center, there is a button to start your screen recording. If you don't have that button, you go into the settings, you go to control center, and you make sure you turn on or enable the button to start the screen capture. Once you do that and start the screen capture, you'll see the countdown 3, 2, 1, like it's now recording. And if you press and hold the screen recording button a little bit longer, it'll give you the option to change the destination where you want the screen capture to go. So if you want to send it to somebody in Facebook, if you want to send it to somebody via text message or email, you can do that. But it also gives you the option to turn on the microphone. And if you press that option to turn on the microphone, you can actually talk them through while you're actually tapping the screens to do the screen recording. So that saves me a lot of time. If I want to do a screen recording, instead of me typing out all the steps at the bottom of the caption before I send it off,
Mm-hmm.
I can turn on the microphone and say, and you can hear me saying, okay, open up the settings, tap control center, make sure you got the screen recording button turned on. Once you got it turned on, close the app. You can do all that talking while you're actually touching it. So they get video and audio of your screen recording. So that is my hookup for the week. You can definitely add voiceovers to your iOS screen recordings.
Nice. All right. And that is our show for this week. Definitely download, rate, and review us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You can also hit us up on social media. On Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. We're at snobOS Cast everywhere. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel at snobOS Cast. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Additionally, if you want to leave comments or suggestions or just send us a little shout out, you can do that via our website, snobOScast.com, or you can send us an email at snobOScast@gmail.com. Again, if you want to become a Patreon, you can support the show by going to patreon.com/snobOScast. And for $5 a month, you can get access to the pre-show content, access to our live show taping, as well as access to our live chat community. Also, if you don't want to necessarily become a monthly Patreon, you can also send us a little love offering over at PayPal. We are at paypal.me/snobOS. And I think that's it for this week. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Peace.